Gloria Estefan. You were born in Cuba.
Yes.
And how old were you when you got to the United States?
I came to the United States when I was 2 years old in May of 1960. And my father, who was a motorcycle policeman for Cuba, his father was a commandant in Batista's army. He was at the presidential palace the night of the coup, and he came home and told my mother, we're in trouble, we have to get out quick. So as soon as he could, he brought my mother and I here.
Do you feel as an American girl or as a Cuban girl?
I'm a Cuban-American girl, but at home, I was raised very Cuban. My mother, the food, the traditions, the culture, because having come here, she almost like clung to, anything she could of her homeland.
So you've never felt any exclusion or I don't belong to this?
Only at the very beginning when we got here to Miami that there really was no Cuban community. We were one of the first. And there was still a lot of discrimination. We were deep in the south of the United States, which sometimes tend to be difficult for outsiders. And at that time, sometimes you'd go to rent an apartment and it would say, no children, no pets, no Cubans. I remember that.
Talking about your father, do you remember discuss politics in your family? Because the politics changed a lot your life.
Yes, it did change a lot. My father was very reserved and quiet. I think I got some of my personality is like my father. He volunteered to Vietnam in the U.S. Army, and he came back very sick. And I was only about 11 years old, and I had to care for him. So he really, from then on, he couldn't speak, he couldn't coordinate, he deteriorated for many years, and then he died in 1980. He was always away because of war. My mother was always suffering because of that.
Viva la tradición at home. Your food is a Cuban food or American food?
Usually, mostly Cuban, but done in a very low-cal way. Emilio and I, since we're always very food conscious and health conscious, we eat, some pasta as well. But,
and do you speak Spanish with your children?
Spanish, yeah. Only Spanish with my baby. My son, I speak English too as well. But Emilio only speaks Spanish at home. I never felt out of place.
No.
Because in Texas, I learned English when I went into school for the first time, and in 6 months I won the reading award, and I was the only Latin. I have a good ear for languages, and I've always done okay. But now it's more multicultural, the city. I really enjoy that aspect, that there's cultures from all over Central and South America. There's a Haitian. It really is a beautiful multi-ethnic city now.
But when you started with your band, with the music, you started singing in Spanish.
Well, I'll tell you, I've been singing since I was 2 years old. My mom says the only way she could put a diaper on me was to sing to me. My father's family was very musical. We have, my grandmother was a poet. 2 of my uncles played guitar and sang and wrote. We have a classical violinist and a flautist in the family who had his own band in Cuba.
It's in the blood.
It's in the blood. Yeah, I think so. Then as I grew, I played guitar. I would learn old Cuban songs to sing to my grandmother because she was the one that I sang to in the kitchen, playing my mother's friends. So I learned a lot of old Cuban standards and old Cuban music. Those were my first musical influences. My emotion came out singing by myself in my room with my guitar. But my mother would say, Glorita, come sing for my friends. I'd sit and look at the floor, very embarrassed. And so I never thought to be a performer because I thought, no, I'll suffer too much.
I'm too shy.
Yeah, I will suffer on stage. And I would look at performers and singers and I'd say, I can't do that. So when I joined the band in high school, I had just finished, in 1975, I was 17. And I met Emilio by accident in someone's home. Then he saw me at a wedding and he remembered me. He goes, you sing? And I sat in with the band and he said, look, we do this as a hobby. It's for fun. We just rehearse 2 days a week and we play the weekend. We don't have a singer. Would you like to join? And for me, that was like heaven.
Why sing in Spanish and not in English at that time? Why did you choose?
Well, his band did only Latin music when I joined the band. So I learned a lot of Spanish stuff, but then they learned Anglo pop, which is what I used to play on my guitar and songs I knew. It was not salsa music or Latin dance music. It was like ballads and things like that.
But at that time, didn't you feel weird that you were living here, being famous outside, not here? What was your feeling?
Well, I know that it really taught me what fame is about, first of all, because we would go and do a stadium with 50,000 people in Peru. And then we'd come back here and do a wedding with 200 people. So it really showed me very early in this career what fame is about. It's very relative. Of course, we wanted to sing in English as well because we lived in the United States.
You wanted to have this market as well.
As well because we lived here, and I also loved singing in English. It wasn't just the Spanish that I loved.
A little bit about this fame that, how do you manage, how do you deal with fame?
Well, fame to me was not what I went to look for because it really happened coincidentally. I really never went wanting to be famous. It wasn't my thing. I like behind the scenes things. I enjoy being behind the scenes. I was never really a upfront camera person, and even when I did it, I didn't feel totally comfortable.
But there is a conflict?
Well,
sort of?
The conflict is that to me, I love music and I love singing and I love writing and I love the opportunity to reach these people, but that you can't get that without being famous.
Life is pushy when there is stressy, it's tough.
Well, you just lose your privacy. That is the bottom line. You have no more that anonymity that people have.
Can you rest?
I can rest when I want to. Of course, I just took 5 years off. I didn't tour for 5 years.
Okay.
But I did albums during this time. But to me, that's not work.
What is your vision about Cuba? What was it at that time? For instance, Fidel Castro. How do you see him at that time and nowadays?
Right. I think Fidel Castro, at the time he came in, was a necessity. I think the people wanted that change. So I think that he used a time opportunely. He tried to make his mark, but I do believe that he was just a fidelista. I don't think he's a communist or any such thing. I think he
just
was
himself, you mean?
Like a Castroist. He was a megalomaniac. He really studied Mussolini and Hitler and all his life from a young boy. So that was in his mind to be the same thing, and he fooled the people, unfortunately. What I hope for Cuba is that they can join the rest of the world, being able to elect their government, being able to have freedom of speech, which they're getting even more controlling. They're closing newspapers and trying to get dissidents out of the country or put them in jail. And so they can join, economically, politically, freedom. That's what I want for Cuba.
You have a successful relationship.
Yes.
And how is this power? Because this is a real problem for a strong woman.
Oh, but Emilio loves strong women. Emilio does not have a problem. He's not insecure. He's a very open Latin man because of his experience. Because from a very young age, he had to also overcome many things, and he had to maintain his family and his parents. So he had to do many things. He had to clean the house. He had to do things that mostly only women do, and he's very open-minded and really a wonderful man.
So you never have to hide.
Oh no.
This even in the business or whatever.
Right. No, on the contrary, the good thing about in the business is that he speaks for me. But people know that I make the decisions as well, because anything that has me to do with, we discuss it together and we decide, but ultimately I make the decision, anything based on me, and he's nurtured that. He's been very supportive of that. Mm-hmm. He loves strong women. He has a lot of women that work for him. More women than men work for Emilio. He mostly only speaks Spanish. He speaks English, but he's so funny. He's really a joy, because he's very absent-minded too, so that he's very funny, the things he does, and it keeps life very interesting, on top of all the good things he is professionally.
About career, because when you have such a good, successful career,
yes,
you gotta your attention goes there.
Emilio I trust him completely. He's the most organized person, and he's a workaholic. He enjoys doing 40 things at once, and that gives me the freedom to do just what I want to do. So in that respect as well, he gets things done.
So Emilio is a solution.
Yes, he is.
Do they sell Emilios anywhere?
Believe me, I have a list of people that want a little Emilios in a jar. If I could, I would.
There is a place to get one of those?
Well, wherever I got him, but I haven't seen anyone like Emilio. He really is a fabulous human being, and we're very fortunate, I think.
And how do you, what is the best and the worst thing about a relationship so long?
Well, the best thing, obviously, is that it works, or it wouldn't be here this long. We love each other. It continues to be a very passionate relationship, and we've worked on it very hard on communication and everything. The most difficult thing is obviously when you disagree on something in business, but that's the only thing we've ever disagreed on, and at this point in our life, we've found that someone has to make the final decision, and we've already found who does what in what case.
And
so,
who does?
Well, if it's anything dealing with me, it's me. because it has to be.
Besides your career, very, very successful, you also have some business. You have an hotel, you have a restaurant.
Yes.
How do you manage these things?
I'm telling you, if it weren't for Emilio, we would not be involved in half these things, because he's the type of man, and I see it in my son, he's the same way. He likes to do 40 things. And Emilio has always done many, many things, and they've grown more and more and more as time goes by, and they're going to continue to grow, because he's an entrepreneur. He's a wonderful businessman. He enjoys what he does, and he's very competitive. Mm-hmm. He enjoys that. He really likes that. So we know that this business is going to change, and we don't want to have everything in one place. You want to be able to have some different investments, and we don't want to have to get smaller and smaller, because we have employees and families that depend on us. So we want to be able to give them security, and the way to do that is to do many things. We love it too. It's interesting for us too. Yes. He started playing both things, Latin music and like dance music in English and ballads in English. And then when we started writing our own songs, both influences became a part of it.
Because the band, you and the band were famous, quite famous in Latin America, but you weren't here in Miami, where you lived.
Right. Well, for the Latin community, they knew me. Not the Anglo community. They didn't know who we were. But the music that made us popular in Latin America was like pop music that we did in Spanish.
But you talked about your shyness.
Yes.
So.
But only performing. I wasn't shy one-on-one. I was just shy to perform. And just doing the gigs every day, I started just little by little enjoying myself more. And as you get more hits, you get more confidence. And it was a process of just letting people see how I feel about it.
But was little by little, or there was a moment that you said, I have to overcome this shyness? How was it?
There were several moments like that. I call my baptisms of fire. But it also was very slowly. I couldn't have done it overnight. It's something that's given to you. It's not something that is intrinsic in you or within you. So it taught me a lot. And I knew that it was a matter of time before in my own backyard we would be known. But yes, there were moments that I remember in my life, like in 1982 in Chile, at the Viña del Mar Festival. We went there, we were virtually unknown. We had to do a 45-minute show, and they scared me with that audience. They said, if they don't like you, they'll throw things. I go, oh my God, what am I doing here?
Let me be quick.
And then I thought, well, let me just go out and do what I always do, go out and have fun. And they asked us for more, and they loved it. And for me that night, my knees were going like, ta-ta-ta-ta. That really happens when you're afraid. It's only happened 2 times in my life. That was the first time. And I looked, it was 40,000 people. It was the first time we played to such a big group. I was pregnant, and I did Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, which was songs I always loved that weren't original, but it was fun for me. So it's still, the creative process is loving for me. I love that. So my life is no different from, I'm the same person. I will deal with you in the same way. I give the same respect to everyone, and I don't put myself above anyone. I think the more a woman evolves, the more sexy she can be. Really, the stage is a very sensual place, because you have all these people giving you love. They don't really know you, and it's a very beautiful feeling. It's a passionate feeling on stage between a fan and the artist. So it's nothing that's been done purposely or anything like that.
But from someone that used to hide behind the songs, as you said, you were, and the sex symbol.
Well, I didn't go out to be any sex symbol. If people look at me that way, it's kind of funny to me, because I really, I think a woman can be sexy, but it's not like something that's in my mind. I mean, I wouldn't describe myself as sexy. I mean, if people have put that, that's fine, but I guess it's nothing we've tried to cultivate or anything like that.
Yeah, but
I've never posed nude anywhere.
It's still time.
No way!
Yeah,
I would die. I don't even walk around nude in my own house.
Are you kidding?
Well, I've got, my son is almost 16, I've got a baby, and besides, I just don't like walking around.
But how do you feel about yourself?
Oh, I feel great about myself. I just don't want to show everybody.
Okay.
I think some things are private. Even in my personality, there's some things that my close friends, have that's more than you offer to everyone. Because I have a very warped sense of humor. I keep that to myself sometimes.
You have so many examples in your family of strong women.
Yes, I do. My grandmother, who was my inspiration and idol, because she was born in 1905, and she wanted to be a lawyer when she was 9 years old. I mean, in Cuba, that's like this woman, she was far ahead of her time. She was a very spiritual, loving woman, and she came to this country, started her own business on her own. She was wonderful. And she always told me, she wanted me to do this because she said, that is your gift to the world. And whether or not you want it, she goes, destiny will put it in your path, because that's what you're meant to do. And eventually that's what happened. It was just destiny put it in my path, and I went with it.
With a Latin culture, is a little tough to be a strong woman.
Sometimes, but see, I don't see that because in my life, the only example I ever had was my mother, who raised me alone because my father was ill and who had to work and studied and revalidated her teaching credentials so she could do better for us. And my grandmother, I had a very strong, the women were the heads of the family.
Sometimes I interviewed strong women and they said, oh, sometimes I hide this from the society. I have to pretend I'm less strong and stuff. It never happened.
It never happened because I'm very fortunate that my husband protected me from that in business, because I know in business that happens. Because if for some reason you see a man in a high position and he's strong, he's assertive. The woman is the same way and she's a bitch.
She's immediately a bitch. A few years ago, Gloria, you recovered from a terrible accident.
Oh, yes.
And that was a miracle for you, wasn't it?
It was a miracle for me.
Tell me a little bit about this experience, you know.
Well, I'll tell you, I was probably at the peak of my career. We were in the middle of although not anymore, I don't consider that, but well, at the time, yes. We were very popular. I was on tour, a very successful tour, and we had an accident on the road. We were unlucky that we were hit by the only thing bigger than us on the road, which we were in a big bus and we got hit by a fully loaded 18-wheeler truck, sandwiched between two trucks, and I actually broke my back and I was paralyzed. And I was fortunate that I was able to walk again. They operated on me. They fused me. They put two titanium rods in my back. At the moment, the only thing I cared about was the fact that my son was okay, because he was in the back of the bus when the thing hit, and for many moments we could hear nothing, no crying, no nothing. It was pitch black. It was snowing inside the bus because it tore the front off. And until my husband found him and I heard him say, "Daddy," and he brought him and sat him next to me, I didn't care about anything else. So then when I saw he was okay and alive, and I thought, well, I'll deal with this one moment at a time. And
about there is a growth that comes with the pain.
Oh, yes.
What changed for you?
Well, I don't think intrinsically as a person I changed, but I did recover an amazing capability for enjoyment of life and the most simple things, and this stays with me. I used to have a fear of heights. That was gone. I don't know why, because I didn't fall from a high place. I crashed, but fear of any kind of work-related or fame-related things, it just totally became unimportant. I also experienced people's love that was unconditional, that their prayers, I really experienced the power, the physical power of prayer, because I felt it around me and I used it in my recuperation. I meditated. I really tried to absorb all this positive energy of all the people that, sent love my way.
And how would you say about yourself, in a few words?
I'm very sincere and honest. I have a wicked sense of humor. I laugh at everything, and including myself and things that happen to me. I need to laugh. Constantly, we're laughing all the time, making jokes and things, because that's the fun part of life, right?
What do you want to reach from now?
I just want to live each day. I'd love to see grandchildren someday, if my children choose to give me them. If they don't, well, that's fine. They're beautiful in themselves. I really want to enjoy my daughter's growing up and my son's adulthood, and just continue to stay in music somehow, in some way, always evolving and growing, changing, and just enjoy life.
And good life.
Oh, thank you very much.
Good luck. Very good
Good
life,
luck to you
Gloria.
too. Good luck to you too. And thank you for coming. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.